You have big dreams, real ones. Not the vague, I want to be successful someday kind, the specific kind. The ones that show up at 11 p.m. when everything's finally quiet and you can actually hear yourself think. You know exactly what you want. You've thought about it 100 times, planned it, mapped it, visualized it. In your head, honestly, you've already done it. You've given the interview. You were humble but clearly impressive. You used the phrase, it wasn't easy, and everyone nodded like you'd said something profound. But then morning comes, and somehow the day just happens. You meant to start. You were absolutely going to start. And then it's 9 p.m., and you're lying in the exact same spot, having accomplished nothing except finishing a show you weren't even enjoying, and also, somehow, buying something on Amazon that made no sense at checkout and makes less sense now. Sound familiar? Good. Because the fact that you clicked this video says something. Most people see a title like this and keep scrolling. You stopped. Hold on to that, because that same instinct is going to matter a lot by the end of this. Section 1, you're not lazy. You're misdiagnosed. Let's get something straight right now. You are not lazy. Lazy people don't feel the pull. Lazy people aren't lying awake at midnight mentally rehearsing their TED Talk. Lazy people don't feel that very specific, very painful frustration of knowing exactly what they're capable of, and then watching themselves research the best desk setup for productivity instead of actually doing anything productive. A lazy person doesn't feel guilty. You feel guilty constantly. That guilt is basically your ambition knocking on a door nobody's answering. What you actually have is a gap between your vision, which is enormous, cinematic, genuinely compelling, and your current system for executing on it, which at this point is roughly good intentions, occasional motivation, and a notes app full of ideas you've never opened twice. And here's where everything goes wrong. Most people look at that gap, call themselves lazy, feel terrible, and then use feeling terrible as the reason they need to lie down for a bit, which creates more guilt, which creates more lying down. It's a whole thing. Shame is one of the least motivating forces in human history. Nobody has ever shamed themselves into greatness. They've shamed themselves into a second bag of chips, sure, but not greatness. Wrong diagnosis, wrong treatment. Time to start over. Section 2, the fear nobody wants to admit. Here's what's actually going on underneath all of this. Your brain is wired to protect you. That's its whole job. And starting something that genuinely matters to you triggers a very specific, very quiet kind of fear. Not the dramatic kind where your heart races, the sneaky kind, the kind that whispers, what if you actually try? Full effort, everything you have, and it still isn't enough. Because here's the thing. Right now, as long as you haven't really tried, the dream is still intact, still perfect, still completely possible. The version in your head has never had to survive contact with reality, so it's flawless. Your brain, doing its job a little too aggressively, keeps finding reasons to delay. Just one more day. Once things settle down. Once the timing is better. Once you finally feel ready. And in the meantime, it helpfully suggests, maybe you should reorganize your workspace first. Maybe you should spend 40 minutes finding the perfect productivity app. Maybe you should look up whether you could actually learn Spanish in 3 months. Maybe, and this is a real one, you should research the history of the thing you want to do instead of doing the thing. 2 hours later, nothing done. One new browser tab open about the Pomodoro technique. A mild sense of having been had. Here's the truth. Timing never gets better. It gets different. And different is what you keep mistaking for not ready. Section 3. You still have time. If you're still here, that says something real about you. Most people bail the second a video stops being comfortable. You're still watching. Keep that in mind. It matters more than you think. Now, hear this next part carefully. Whatever you've been putting off, that version of yourself you keep promising you'll become, you still have time. Not infinite time, but real time. Enough time. Here's the brutal trick ambitious minds play on themselves. Because the dream matters so much, every day you don't start feels like a permanent loss. The guilt compounds. Then it snowballs. 10 days of not starting becomes a week of shame, which becomes genuinely wondering if you should just accept a smaller life, which somehow, nobody can explain how, ends with you watching a 4-part documentary about cults at 1 a.m. that has nothing to do with anything. And that wait makes starting even harder, because now you're not just starting a project. You're starting a project while dragging the emotional baggage of every single day you didn't. So here's what needs to happen. Put the baggage down, not the dream, the shame. It's not useful. It's not fuel. It's just heavy. Every person you admire who built something real had a version of this same stuck period. The difference isn't that they were born with discipline tattooed on their soul. It's that eventually they started anyway. Messy, uncertain, completely without the timing being right. You still have time to be that person, but time moves whether you do or not. Section 4. Your evenings are lying to you. Here's something nobody says out loud. Big vision requires big energy, and most ambitious people are trying to build a massive life on whatever's left over after a day that already took everything. You spend 8 hours doing work that doesn't particularly excite you. You sit in a meeting that could have been an email about a topic that could have been nobody's problem. You come home genuinely, legitimately drained, and then you stand in your kitchen and tell yourself, okay, now, empire time. And when you sit down and find absolutely nothing there, no focus, no drive, just a strong pull toward horizontal, you call yourself lazy. But you're not lazy. You're empty. There's a meaningful difference. A car isn't broken because it won't run on an empty tank. It's just empty. You don't shame the car. You find the gas. Protecting your energy isn't soft. It's strategic. Sleeping properly, cutting things that drain you, pointing your best hours at your most important work. This isn't laziness wearing a wellness outfit. This is the infrastructure, the stuff that makes everything else possible. Stop asking, why can't I force myself to work at 10 p.m.? Start asking, when do I actually have something in the tank? And am I pointing it anywhere useful? Section 5. Stop trying to be consistent. Start trying to be tiny. Here's the actual rule. Do the smallest possible version. Every time. Not the version that matches the ambition in your head, not the version you'd be proud to announce to anyone. The version that takes 15 minutes. The version that is, frankly, a little embarrassing given how big the dream is. Write 1 paragraph, record 60 seconds, send 1 email, do 1 set. But that's nothing, says the part of your brain that has been holding out for the perfect 4-hour deep work session, the one that has been scheduled approximately 47 times and has occurred exactly 0. Yeah, it's almost nothing. Do it anyway. Because here's what tiny actions do that grand plans never manage. They break the inertia. And inertia, not laziness, not lack of motivation, not the alignment of the planets, is the actual enemy. A body at rest stays at rest. We all learned this. We just forgot that it also works in reverse. A body in motion, even slow, slightly ridiculous motion, stays in motion. You do your embarrassingly small 15 minutes today. Tomorrow it feels less embarrassing. 2 weeks from now, you're someone who shows up. Not because you finally discovered discipline, because you stopped waiting for it to arrive fully formed and just started moving without it. And here's the funny part. The version of you that you're so frustrated you haven't become yet, they didn't wait for perfect conditions either. They just started voting earlier. Every tiny action is a vote. You can start casting votes today. Section 6. The story running in the background. Last one. Most important one. Somewhere in the back of your mind, there's a story playing on a loop. You've probably never said it out loud, but it sounds something like, I'm the person who has big dreams and doesn't follow through. And that story, quiet, persistent, easy to dismiss as self-awareness, is doing more damage than any amount of procrastination ever could. Because we don't act against our identity. We act in line with it. Tell yourself you're someone who doesn't follow through, and your brain will helpfully, efficiently Repeatedly make that true. Not out of cruelty, out of consistency. It's just keeping your behavior matching your beliefs. The real work isn't just the project, it's updating the story. Not with affirmations. Nobody changed their life by standing in a bathroom mirror saying, I am successful at their own reflection, looking like they're preparing for a hostage negotiation. With evidence. Small, daily, undeniable proof that you are someone who shows up. Every time you sit down, even for 15 minutes, even when the output is rough, even when nobody sees it, you are casting a vote for a different identity. And identities don't change overnight. They change one vote at a time. If you made it this far and something in here hit differently, subscribe. That's genuinely it. No pitch, no pressure. It's just the simplest signal you can send that says more of this. And it's the thing that makes it possible for me to keep showing up and making it. So here's where we've landed. You're not lazy. You're ambitious, slightly avoidant, probably running on less energy than you think, and carrying around shame about the delay that's actively making the delay worse. You've been waiting to feel ready, which is a little like waiting for perfect weather before you learn to swim. At some point, you just have to get in the water. The dream is real. The capability is real. The time is still there. And if you made it all the way to the end of this, let's be honest, there was a moment somewhere around section 3 where you almost opened a new tab. Maybe you did open a new tab, doesn't matter. You came back. And that's the thing. That quality right there. The part of you that comes back, that stays curious, that keeps looking for the answer, even when it's uncomfortable. That's not nothing. That's actually everything. You just haven't aimed it at the right target yet. Go do the smallest possible version of the thing, right now. Before this feeling fades. Before your brain talks you into something more comfortable. The interview is waiting. The journey is waiting. The slightly too humble but clearly impressive version of you, telling the story of how it all started. It started today. Go. If this landed, share it. Someone in your life needs to hear this today.